Hello, and welcome back to Down the Rabbit Hole. Today, we're going to be talking about the town of Sharpsburg, Maryland. So, if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Please subscribe, help a girl out. I do work two jobs, y'all, and everything. So please help. Your girl would greatly appreciate it. She can actually make rent. But anyway, Sharpsburg, Maryland is a village of only 700, with only 281 years of almost exclusively peaceful history. A town with peaceful history? Nonsense, you might say. Well, this is almost nothing of note to say that the little village, except for one fact in 1862, it was the site of the bloodiest day in American history. Can we guess which battle I'm talking about? Can we guess? Can we guess? Can we guess? Well, for all my history lovers out there, or my military lovers, this battle goes out to you. This was the Battle of Antietam, and this was on September 17, 1862, when the Union and Confederate forces would meet in Sharpsburg and battled from 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. In those 12 hours, more than 22,000 American soldiers have died. And no matter and no other day in the country's history has produced as many casualties, even in World War II. That as the Sharpsburg famous of the most gallish of ways. So, what do we know? Well, Antietam was the deadliest day in the Battle of American history, and it showed that the Union could stand against the Confederate Army in the Eastern Theater. And it also gave President Lincoln the confidence to issue preliminary emancipation proclamation at the moment of strength rather than desperation. So how did it end? Well, this was an inconclusive battle. General Robert E. Lee committed the entire force to the battle, while Major General George E. McClellan sent less than quarters of his, with the full commitment of McClellan's troops, which outnumbered the Confederates 2-1, and the battle half of the more definitive outcome. Now, instead, McClellan's half-hearted approach allowed Lee to hold ground by shifting forces from threat to threat. So, what does this actually mean exactly? Well, Lee would invade Maryland September 1862 with a full agenda. He wanted to move the focus of his fighting from the south into the federal territory. Victories there could lead to the capture of federal capital of D.C. Now, Confederate success could also influence the impending congressional elections in the North, and on the other side, President Lincoln would be counting on McClellan to bring him to victory, and he could need his Republican control of the Congress to issue a preliminary emancipation proclamation. So, what happened before the battle? Greasy, woo! It's okay, girl. Hey, it's okay. My Moomy's dog. She's adorable. But anyway, the first Confederate Union held territory is not did not go as planned. However, after a victory at the Battle of South Mountain and a Confederate victory at the Battle of Harper's Ferry, Robert E. Lee opted to make one last in hopes of salvaging his Maryland campaign. So, with the federal forces form in the east, Lee selects to a strategic ground near Antietam Creek and orders his army to converge there. In a mile east of the town of Sharpsburg, the Creek Melanders stowed hilly but not the countryside, and good for long-range artillery and moving infantry. Now, water is deep, swift, and crossable, only at three stone bridges, making it a natural defensible location. Now, on September 15th, Lee's position in his battle behind the creeks, and he would wait for McClellan to arrive. Now, on the afternoon of September 16th, McClellan sets his army in motion, and he would be sending Major General Joseph Hooker's First Corps across Antietam Creeks to find Lee Lee's left flank, and at dusk, Hooker would into Confederate General John Bell Hood's division, and the two forces would skirmish until dark. The following morning, McClellan would attack. So, during the battle, now, it was about September 17th now, the battle would begin when Hooker's corps mounts a peaceful assault on Lee's left flank. Peaceful, you may say. While repeated Unions and attacks equally vicious Confederate counterattacks would soon sweep back and forth across Miller's cornfield in the Westwoods. Now, Hooker seized thousands of Federals that fell into the corn, where every stalk of corn in the northern and greater part of that field was cut closely as could have been. Sorry, guys, I'm also waiting for a phone call as well. So if you my phone go off, that's why. I can't remember what ringtone I have. I had it on vibrate for so long, I forgot the ringtone for it. You know what I mean? Does anybody else do that? But anyway, but he was done with a knife, and the slain would lay precisely as they stood in their few ranks before the moment stood. Now, despite their great Union numerical advantage, Lieutenant General Stonewall Jackson's Confederate forces held their ground near the Dunker Church. And meanwhile, toward the center of the battlefield, Union assaults against the sunken road pierced into the Confederate center after their struggle for a defensive position. Unfortunately for the Union, this temporal advantage is not the center that is not followed up with further advances, and eventually, the Union defenders must abandon their position. I know, Reese. She'll be back soon. In the afternoon, the third and major assault by Major General Ambrose E. Burnside's Ninth Corps would push over a bullet-strewn stone bridge at the creek. Today, it is called Burnside Bridge. Now, just as Burnside's forces began to collapse at the Confederates, right, Major General A.P. Hill's division would charge into the battle. After a long march from Harper's Ferry, hoping to drive back the assault and saving the day from the Army of Northern Virginia. So, what was the aftermath of all this? Well, there were more than 22,000 casualties at this battle, and the doctors at the scenes are overwhelmed. So, badly needed supplies are brought to the house by Clara Barton, who was known as the Angel of the Battlefield. I think I remember doing a report on her when I was like in the first grade or something. But anyway, in spite of his diminished ranks, Lee continued to skirmish McClellan's on September 18th while removing his wounds south of the Potomac late that evening. And September 19th, after realizing that no further attacks were coming from McClellan, he would withdraw from the battlefield and slip back across the Potomac into Virginia, and he will send Major General John Porter to mount a cautious pursuit, which repulsed at the Battle of Shepherdstown. So while the Battle of Antietam is considered a tactical draw, Lincoln claims it was a strategic victory. See, Lincoln had been waiting for a military success to be issued, so he can issue a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, and this would give a great opportunity come September 22nd. So this proclamation would free the slaves of all states in the rebellion as of January 1st, 1863. And it will forever change the course of the war and the nation by marrying the Union cause with an attack on the institution of slavery. Now, hesitant to support pro-slavery regimes, England and France declined an alliance with the Confederate States. I wonder why. They were both against slavery. But after McClellan refused to pursue Lee at his retreat, Lincoln loses faith in his general. Weeks later, he names Burnside commander of the Army of the Potomac. Alright, guys. What do y'all think of this battle? Do you think it was a very decisive victory? Who do you think won? I am very curious. That's it for this episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day.